Okay, welcome everyone to week 12 of this traditions workshop and tradition 12. Here we are already. Great to see you all here. And so we'll do a little bit of a recap of the first 11 traditions, which it does in language of the heart anyway, but I'll do my own little recap. So let's begin firstly with a moment of silence to think about the still suffering alcoholic who hasn't found their way to us yet. And then the responsibility statement. If anyone wishes to unmute and join in, please feel free to do so. I am responsible when anyone, anywhere reaches out for help. I want the hand of AA always to be there, but I am responsible.
I am responsible.
Thanks, everyone. So again, recapping, we'll go sort of back to the beginning in a way. Tradition 1, as I said, if what I've really enjoyed here as well, I mean, I've enjoyed seeing everyone, but particularly new members and newcomers. It's wonderful. From my experience, when I put the traditions into my life and the principles of the traditions, it's like being rocketed to another level. Again, it is just unbelievable. So there's always more and more and more in AA. Anyway, I think anyone who gets bored in sobriety, I'd like to say they're probably doing it wrong. Maybe that's a bit judgmental, but anyway, for me, there's no time to be bored. There's always too much work to do. So tradition 1, if you can't remember anything else, just remember tradition 1, unity. We're all in this together. We need each other and we stick together for our benefit, for our survival. But for those yet to come, even those alcoholics who aren't born yet, we have a responsibility to keep AA strong and united, and for the message that's carried in the first 164 pages of the big book to be kept intact, and for this message not to be diluted or diverting from our primary purpose or anything. And then tradition 2, leadership. It talks, that makes me think of the upside down triangle. Our leaders are but trusted servants. Out there in the world, you start out at the bottom and work your way up to CEO. Here, we come in like a CEO and work our way down to a position of being a servant. And we'll look at that structure of AA service in the next series in the workshop on the 12 concepts of world service, starting on the 7th of September. So we'll have a 3-week break. Anyway, tradition after tonight or today. And tradition 3, the only requirement for membership being a desire to stop drinking. And that had some really interesting history around it. They were, I think it seems humorous, but it's a life and death matter. In the 12 and 12, they talked about getting worried that some of these alcoholics were going to ruin our reputation and make us look bad, which I think is high humor. Tradition 4, each group is autonomous except in matters affecting other groups or AA as a whole. So, if there's a group and it's not run according to the traditions, they can do damage to themselves, to each other, to newcomers, to AA as a whole. You can do what you want, provided we consider how it's going to affect potentially the whole of AA and nearby groups. And tradition 5, carrying the message, our primary purpose, singleness of purpose. We are alcoholics, not addicts, whatever. We use the language of spirituality, not the language of therapy. We have the traditions and, again, the big book, that instruction manual, basic text. Tradition 6, outside enterprises. We don't get affiliated with any outside enterprises. We just remain independent and autonomous from anyone and everything. And what a wonderful feeling that is. And tradition 6 and 7 being self-supporting, again, financially standing on our own 2 feet, not having anyone riding on our back, on our reputation, but also us not trying to hang on to anyone else's reputation or ride off that or build that. So tradition 6 and 7, I find them really comforting, and I feel really proud of AA that we are like that. We are self-supporting. We look after ourselves, we look after each other, and we look after those yet to come. We think about those. It's such a giving program and a giving way of life, and that's mentioned there, tradition 8, giving it away. Our 12th step work can never be professionalized. It can't be paid for. If we're going to live according to the traditions, we don't charge someone ever for taking them through the steps, taking them through the big book for AA sponsorship. Sober AA members can work in alcoholism and related fields, ensuring to wear a separate hat. Not being a professional in AA, but just being another sober alcoholic, another AA member, and out there just doing the job they're paid for. You can't be an AA counsellor or things like that, an AA lawyer, whatever. And tradition 9, organisation. We have service committees responsible to those they serve. Sometimes people say AA ought never be organised, and that can get mixed up. People think that we can't plan for things, we can't do things in an orderly manner, we can't be reliable. So again, we need to be very careful about what we hear in meetings and what we take on. Is this what does our literature say? What is the 12 and 12 language of the heart? And AA comes of age, and of course the illustrated pamphlet and AA tradition, how it developed, the other pamphlet. And tradition 10, that we have no opinion on outside issues. We don't want to get involved in any public controversy, even about alcohol reform or anything like that. Again, just simple, basic singleness of purpose. Staying sober, helping other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. That's all we do. And tradition 11, public relations policy based on attraction rather than promotion. So I can tell anyone I want that I'm in AA, that's not promotion. That's just carrying the message. That's just sharing my story. If I'm secretive, if nobody knows I'm in AA, to a degree, I am violating this tradition. Remember, Dr. Bob told us exactly where the line is, the level of press, radio, and films. If I make my AA membership known publicly, I'm maintaining my anonymity below that level. And if it's a big fat secret, nobody ever knows I'm in AA. I never tell anyone I'm in AA. I'll wait for them to ask me. No one's ever going to ask me. No one's ever going to put 2 and 2 together and imagine that I'm a drunk. Yeah, unless they've ever seen me drink before. And there's not many people around that know me as a drinker. So if it's a secret and I never tell anyone, then I'm maintaining my anonymity above that level. And so tradition 11 for me, always come back to Dr. Bob's statement that he made, because he really said it all there in just one simple statement. And so then today, onto the tradition of anonymity, and one again that can be misunderstood and misconstrued. And back to the bookends again that we started, that quick review of that, why it works, how it works. Why it works is because of our unity. This is the number one thing. That's why it's the first tradition, just like with our steps. Step 1, if we haven't got step 1, sooner or later we're going to drink again. That's what I believe. But there's other things that can make us drink again further down the track. But certainly I must have a full step 1 experience. I really need that. And this is why approximately half of the basic text, the first 103 pages, is devoted to step 1. And then the next 4 traditions, 2, 3, 4, and 5, relate specifically to the group. So if I'm not a member of a home group in AA, if I don't have membership in AA, if I don't belong to a group, then how can I even be in the traditions? Yeah, there's ways around it, but I guess I'm pretty, I stick to the formula that was passed on to me, which was always a big book, a sponsor, a home group. That was the newcomer kit. And, I haven't come across anything better yet. And when I looked around, the people who had what I wanted, I saw their similarities in their stories. It was home group membership, service in AA, big book, sponsor, all the basic stuff, all the same things. And then 6, 7, and 8 talking about money. Money and spirituality do mix when AA passes the hat around, but we need to be poor. So again, common sense is uncommon sense. We don't need money beyond a prudent reserve in the groups, just enough for a couple of months' rent. We hold that back and we pay our literature, tea and coffee and rent for the premises and so on. And never endorse, finance or lend the AA name to any outside enterprise. Otherwise, we might get diverted. We have to keep this really, really simple, just focused to alcoholics. And that's what I love about it as well. There's nothing to get confused about. It's just by alcoholics for alcoholics. That's it. Simple. And again, 7 and 8, I discussed those already, and 9, 10, and 11 listed here as the antis. Again, never organised, no outside opinions. And personally, I found that if I keep my outside opinions outside of my AA relationships as well, it's much, much better for me. I've got some very strong opinions about current events in the world, social issues and stuff. I've got very, very strong opinions, and I have at times discussed them with AA people who have very different opinions to me, which I found very disagreeable, and it wasn't good. It's not good for my unity with AA members, because this is a life and death matter. So I've learned that the hard way. When I want to have my political stuff or whatever, I talk about it with my non-AA friends, because, they've got the same opinions as me. So, anyway, I'm going off track. So then how? Anonymity. That's what we're going to talk about today. And I'm looking forward to this one. So the short form, anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities. I think that's fairly self-explanatory, but we're going to hear all about it from Language of the Heart. And so the long form, 12, and finally, we of Alcoholics Anonymous believe that the principle of anonymity has an immense spiritual significance. It reminds us that we are to place principles before personalities, that we are actually to practice a genuine humility. This to the end that our great blessings may never spoil us, that we shall forever live in thankful contemplation of Him who presides over us all. How wonderful is that? And this tells me this is a spiritual program, a spiritual way of life, and I need a higher power. And we collectively, AA needs a higher power, and that is expressed, as it says in Tradition 2, through the group conscience and the genuine humility that I don't get to be proud of myself for being sober. I get to thank God and I get to thank AA. When I hear someone say, I'm so proud of myself for being sober, I kind of think, ooh, ouch. I wonder how that's going to go in the longer term. But for the grace of God, certainly not through any virtue of mine that I got to Alcoholics Anonymous. It was just by sheer luck, the grace of God, unmerited favor. So I need that attitude myself personally, and it is suggested there in Tradition 12 that we collectively have that position of humility for our higher power and are here to serve God and others. So from Language of the Heart, again, I've not written the page number. I guess it's somewhere around page 90-ish. Okay, so one may say that anonymity is the spiritual base, the sure key to all the rest of our traditions. Now, I see how tradition 12 dovetails into tradition 1, because if I'm putting principles above personalities, I'm going to be unified with people. I'm not above them or below them. I'm not better or worse. I'm looking at spiritual principles, and this will keep us together. So anyway, it said, it has come to stand for prudence and most importantly for self-effacement. That would have been a good word to look up, self-effacement. If anyone wants to jump in with a definitions for prudence and self-effacement, I guess it's like self-forgetting, maybe, humility, double-barreled word for humility, true consideration for the newcomer if he desires to be nameless, vital protection against misuse of the name Alcoholics Anonymous at the public level, and to each of us a constant reminder that principles come before personal interest. Such is the wide scope of this all-embracing principles. In it we see the cornerstone of our security as a movement. At a deeper spiritual level, it points us to still greater self-renunciation. So self-renunciation to me means self-forgetting, getting rid of self. That's what this is about. And what comes to mind is the medical view in the back of the big book, where the doctor said the alcoholic overcomes his excessive self-concern as he starts to help others. And so this is bringing it, all of it in together, bringing it all. A glance at the 12 traditions will instantly ensure anyone that giving up is the essential idea of them all. In each tradition, the individual or the group is asked to give up something for our general welfare. Tradition 1 asks us to place the common good ahead of personal desire. And again, on that point, I'm just going to say, no, the newcomer is not the most important person in the room. Nobody's more important than anyone in AA. I don't agree with that. I agree that everyone is equally important. Everyone's needed. The newcomer, the old-timer, the mid-timer, you know, the person who's had relapses and then manages to stay sober after a while, the person who stays sober from their first meeting. Everyone's equal. Everyone's equally as important. And also that the common good ahead of personal desire. So sometimes people think that a meeting has to be or can be disrupted because of a newcomer. Everyone's got to flock around because that's the most important person in the room. No, unless it's in a healthy way. And I know people shared some stories about this stuff across the various weeks in the traditions. But there's a way to manage it and to look after people while still maintaining the common welfare. You know, we have to all be united. The group has to stay united and strong. And, you know, nothing can really, we can't let anything interfere with that. Tradition 3 requires that we exclude no alcoholic from AA membership. So that one's basic. Tradition 4 implies that we abandon all idea of centralized human authority or government, but each group is enjoined to consult widely in matters affecting us all. So there was a reading in As Bill Sees It just the other day. I've been going through that with a sponsor. And yeah, groups might write to the Central Service Office or General Service Office saying, well, we've got this problem, or we've got that problem. What shall we do? Or can you make them stop doing that? And they're like, no, all we can do is, you know, share the experience that's been shared with us. That's all we can say. But we would like to suggest maybe you try this. So they're only going to ever make suggestions based on the experiences that have been shared with people. And that's where the traditions come from. As our literature tells us, They were hammered out on the anvils of experience. They weren't theories that some people thought up. They've already, I heard someone recently say that the 12 traditions could have been called the 12 biggest mistakes that they made in the early days of AA. So the genius learns from the mistakes of others. So none of us have to do any of that stuff again. It's all been done. And Tradition 5 restricts the AA group to a single purpose, carrying our message to other alcoholics. And that singleness of purpose statements, which comes out of the book AA Comes of Age, tells us we cannot take on the problems of the whole world. And we can't have this proud assumption that just because we've been able to help alcoholics, we can help everyone. AA has been generous in giving and sharing our 12 steps and our 12 traditions. Everyone can use them. If you've got an eating problem, a drug problem, an emotions problem, a money problem, gambling problem, yay, you're welcome to use our steps and traditions. Absolutely, go for it. But AA is for alcoholics, and we need to keep to that primary purpose so that alcoholics can find identification when they come here. If we get diverted from that primary purpose and start trying to help people with other things, alcoholics might come here who don't identify if there's other things. Now, I've got a problem with my display. Can anyone read that top line? I've got my tools in the top and I can't see it. Whoops, hang on, what have I done? Gone to Tradition 10. Tradition 6 points at the corroding influence of money, property, and personal authority. It begs that we keep these influences at a minimum by separate incorporation and management of our special services. Hang on, sorry. It also warns against the natural temptation to make alliances or give endorsements. Tradition 7 states that we had best pay our own bills. The large contributions or those carrying obligations ought not to be received. So that's a good point. Yeah, any bequests are capped at, I think it was $5,000. That public solicitation using the name Alcoholics Anonymous is positively dangerous. So we don't donate to AA, we make contributions, and we don't ask for donations from anyone. Again, it's something that I feel really proud of and gives me a sense of comfort that we can be independent. No one else can call the shots for us. Tradition 8 forswears professionalising our 12-step work, but it does guarantee our few paid service workers an unquestioned amateur status. So that was the other thing about Tradition 8. Yeah, we can pay people to answer phones and, answer incoming correspondence and things like that. Tradition 9 asks that we give up all idea of expensive organisation. Enough is needed to permit effective work by our special services and no more. This tradition breathes democracy. Our leadership is one of service and it is rotating. Our few titles never clothe their holders with arbitrary personal authority. They hold authorizations to serve, never to govern. And that really sits well with me because I have a defiance of authority. Yeah, I can put up with authority at work because I need to get paid. But, if we come to AA, no one can tell us what to do, but break the rules and see what happens. Tradition 9 in the 12 and 12 gives a very, very serious threat about what happens to me if I don't follow spiritual principles. I'm going to sign my own death warrant. Tradition 10 is an emphatic restraint of serious controversy. It implores each of us to take care against committing AA to the fires of reform, political or religious dissension. Yeah, so keeping politics and religion out of it, which is good. And Tradition 11 asks, in our public relations, so public relations, not in my personal private life, that we be alert against sensationalism, and it declares there is never need to praise ourselves. Of course, that goes without saying. Right? It's only by the grace of God we've got this thing. Personal anonymity at the level of press, radio and films is urgently required. And I'll just put an asterisk there. Remember what Dr. Bob said. Thus avoiding the pitfall of vanity and the temptation through broken anonymity to link AA to other causes. And sure, there are celebrities that have broken their anonymity, or maybe media outlets that don't understand anonymity has done it. But, you know, I am responsible for my own journey in adhering to these suggested steps and traditions. And then tradition 12, in its mood of humble anonymity, plainly enough comprehends the preceding 11. The 12 points of tradition are little else than a specific application of the spirit of the 12 steps of recovery to our group life and to our relations with society in general. The recovery steps would make each individual AA whole and one with God, and the 12 points of tradition would make us one with each other and whole with the world about us. Unity is our aim. So, as we talked about right at the beginning from Daily Reflections, was it January 31st? January 31st, our traditions are key elements in the ego deflation process necessary to achieve and maintain sobriety in Alcoholics Anonymous. And elsewhere in our literature, it talks about our twisted relations with other people. These are what cause us pain and harm and difficulties. And there's the answer right there. The 12 points of tradition would make us one with each other. So this helps me in my relationships, and whole with the world about us. So AA can fit into society and hold our place in society, as we have done for 86 years. And we've got pamphlets about cooperating with professional communities and all kinds of other things, all kinds of other literature to help us. Our AA traditions are, we trust, securely anchored in those wise precepts: charity, gratitude, and humility. Nor have we forgotten prudence. So prudence, I'm going to quickly look that up because I just want to know specifically what it means. Prudence, I think it means taking care, or
Tuija, we put it in the chat.
Thank you. Sorry, I couldn't see the chat here. There it is. Thank you. So prudence is shrewdness, attention to detail, being careful, wisdom, applying caution, sensible in action and thought. How beautiful is that? Now, this is the opposite of the way I did things when I was drinking or when I'm not in recovered, yeah? So I'm just, I'm being careless, I'm being stupid, you know, I'm leaping before I look and all kinds of things. But even in our literature, it recommends that group conscience decisions are made slowly. Even if we have to discuss a point 3 or 4 times, we don't want to jump into things. And so self-effacement was the quality of not claiming attention for oneself. Again, linked to humility, just going about being of maximum service to God and others. And so, nor have we forgotten prudence. Just wonderful, being conscientious, being responsible, just being a grown-up. May these virtues ever stand clear before us in our meditations. May Alcoholics Anonymous serve God in happy unison for so long as he may need us. And all right, so let's go to the illustrated pamphlet. For the last time, tradition 12. So that was tradition 11 there. Oops. Let us always remember that anonymity Not taking credit for our own or others' recovery is humility at work. Yeah, so I never want to hear me say I'm so proud of myself for staying sober or anything like that, because left to my own devices, it's just a mess. I can't speak for anyone else, but that's just me. And so on the side of the building, there's a big placard with some people standing near it looking up saying, anonymity, sacrificing personal ambition for the common good.
Tuija, could you just lower it a fraction, please? Because I haven't got, thank you.
Like that? Okay, good. Can you see the picture now? All right, and I'm going to read the illustrated pamphlet. Oops. Anonymity, as we observe it in AA, is at root a simple expression of humility. When we use the 12 steps to recover from alcoholism, we are each trying to achieve real humility, to put our self-respect on a solid base of truth rather than on fantasies about ourselves. When we use the 12 traditions to work together in AA, we are all trying to achieve humility as individual members by recognizing our true place in AA as a fellowship, by recognizing AA's true place in the world. As individual members, by recognizing our place in AA, as a fellowship, by recognizing AA's true place in the world. So right size, not better, not worse, children of God, playing the role that he assigns us. Tradition 1 reminds each of us that we are not recovering on our own, that we should control our personal desires and ambitions in order to guard the unity of our group and our fellowship. We ought not, Tradition 2, fancy ourselves as big shots in AA, no matter what office we hold. And so it's quite laughable to think of anyone as a big shot in AA. Sorry, it just struck me as funny. All of us are just alcoholics together, and in our groups we are not entitled, Tradition 3, to rule on the qualifications of other alcoholics seeking the same help that we've had. Yes, a group needs humility too. It may make its name public, but in the spirit of anonymity, it should see the whatever group as merely part of a bigger whole. Tradition 4, careful in every enterprise to consider the welfare of all the other groups that make up AA. In both group and individual activities, we should remember what the full name of our fellowship is. It does not represent any established religion, nor is it a new religion. We are not evangelists or gurus out to save humanity. We are anonymous alcoholics trying to help other alcoholics. Tradition 5. I just love this illustrated pamphlet. It just says so much in so few words. And so just talking about that group name. So if, for example, a group is held at the Baptist church, it can't be called the Baptist Church AA meeting. It has to have a different name, like the Big Book Study or the Fremantle 12 and 12 or whatever. In the rising battle against alcoholism, sorry, I've gone too far up now. In the rising battle against alcoholism, we ought not let our pride in AA mislead us into linking our fellowship with other agencies in order to bid for a share in their power, prestige and funds. If we keep traditions 6 and 7 in mind, we will instead direct all our efforts toward AA's own unique purpose. And there's a picture there. I don't get what that picture's about. Oh, he's doing a 12-step call. Here's a man sitting alone in his dressing gown and slippers and so on. The lampshades askew. He's clutching his, maybe he's a bit shaky. And there's a man with a nice jacket on at his door. seeing if he can help. He's trying to carry the message to him. That's how I see it anyway. And continuing on the reading, it says, when we go on 12-step calls, yep, there's the picture, we should not tell ourselves how noble we are for doing such valuable work without pay. The meaning of 12-step work cannot be measured in money, Tradition 8, and we have received advance pay for it in coin of far greater worth, our very lives. In the same tradition, it's suggested that a service centre maintains AA humility by paying its employees decent wages, rather than considering AA so virtuous an outfit that employment there is a favour. Yeah, let's value AA and let's value people, the jobs they do, which need to be paid. But 12-step work, it's like, well, I'm just using this life preserver here, otherwise I'm going to drown. When we are given special responsibilities within AA, Tradition 9 delines these as opportunities to serve, not titles to flaunt. The humility of the fellowship itself is safeguarded by Tradition 10 with the refusal to set ourselves up as general authorities, swinging our collective weight around in the public arena. Oh, thank God for that one. We do not want to sell our program as a surefire remedy in the extravagant terms of a promotional campaign, Tradition 11, or dramatise it by identifying noted people in AA, thereby implying that recovery has been for each of us an individual accomplishment. As Tradition 12 reminds us, we have something stronger than our human personalities to rely on. Our principles come first, and they are not our own invention. They reflect eternal spiritual values. With this tradition, both as individuals and as a fellowship, we humbly acknowledge our dependence on a power higher than ourselves. So anonymity really means I'm just one of many. Who cares who I am, what my name is, what I look like, where I come from, what I've done, what I haven't done. Nobody cares. The message is what matters. I am an alcoholic. AA saved my life. I continue to try to carry the message because I have a great life. Yeah, I love it and I want to keep it, but it's my duty and my responsibility to carry this message. So anonymity is about humility and self-forgetting, self-sacrifice. That's what it's about. Again, it's not about secrecy. It's about being right-sized and having humility under God's grace. And where are we next? I think hang on, what have I done? Stop share screen. I think we might be up to the daily reflections part of the... so Jackie, I believe you've got some readings to share with us. Thank you. Please come on in.
Good morning, everybody. I really am pleased to be here. It's been a while and I've missed it so much. You've got no idea. And while I was in hospital, I celebrated 17 years continuous sobriety. So that was something to brighten up my day when I was in the hospital. But Jill, I was going to say Jill landed with this on me yesterday, but no, Jill asked me nicely if I would do this yesterday. So if I've got it wrong, you just need to bear with me. If I've done it right, then good. So she asked me to do Tradition 12, and there is quite a few readings and daily reflections for it, and I'm not going to go through them all because I think it would take up the rest of the meeting. There's 304, 354, 373, 127, 250, 256 and 268, and I'm sure there was more than that. But the ones, sorry. The ones that I have picked out are daily reflections, whatever. Page. I think it's two. No, that's not. No, that one. Sorry. You need to give me a minute. This is 268. We stand or fall together. No society of men and women ever had a more urgent need for continuous effectiveness and a permanent unity. The alcoholics see that we must work together and hang together, else most of us will finally die alone. Just as the 12 steps of the AA are written in a specific sequence for a reason, so it is with the 12 traditions. The first step in the first tradition, attempt to instill in me enough humility to allow me a chance at survival. Together they are the basic foundation upon which the steps in the traditions that follow are built. It is a process of ego deflation which allows me to grow as an individual through the steps and as a contributing member of a group through the traditions. Full of acceptance of the first tradition allows me to set aside personal ambitions, fears and anger when they're in conflict with the common good. Thus permitting me to work with others for our mutual survival. Without tradition one, I stand little chance of maintaining the unity required to work with others effectively, and I also stand to lose the remaining traditions, that fellowship and my life. I think that was made a bit tradition one. Never mind, I should. And there was another one, anonymity, and that's on 373. Anonymity is a spiritual foundation of all our traditions, reminding it to place principles before personalities. Tradition 12 became an important early in my sobriety, and along with the 12 steps, it continues to be a must in my recovery. I became aware after I joined the fellowship that I had personality problems, so that when I first heard it, the tradition's message was very clear. There exists an immediate way for me to face with others my alcoholism and attendant anger, defensiveness. I saw tradition 12 as being a great ego deflator. It is relieved my anger and gave me a chance to utilize the principles of the program. All the steps in this particular tradition have guided me over the decades of continuous sobriety. I am grateful to those who were here when I needed them. And I used to read tradition 12 at the end of a meeting. That tradition 12 was principles before personalities, and I don't think I ever really gave it. I never really gave it that much headroom. It was just that's what tradition 12 says, and I didn't look into it anymore. I didn't realise that tradition 12 gave me the space to allow me to be angry, because the rest of the steps are telling me that I can't be angry, but it gives me somewhere to go. But it also, at the same time, gently relieves my ego, because it's no it's no about me. All I've got to do is carry the message and carry it to the best as I can, and to consider where and when I break my anonymity. Now, I'm not going to sit in a hall full of, we'll say, just a hall full of ordinary people and sit there and shout, my name's Jackie and I'm an alcoholic. Not doing that. Just not doing it. But I don't mind saying, my name's Jackie and I'm an alcoholic, when I sit in a hall full of my own people. That I don't mind. I mean, I'll shout it to the rooftops there, and I'll sing and dance about it. You don't want to hear me singing, no, that's a horrible prospect. But no, you know what I mean, I will shout it to the rooftops, and I believe that my anonymity is mine to break, and break alone, and I have. And saying that, it's up to the individual, every other individual, and they want to decide when and if they're going to break their anonymity. It isn't down to me. I've no, as much as I want to shout to the rooftops, it's up to them to shout to the rooftops. It's no my, it's no, I don't get to choose that for them. They do that themselves. I had something else written, but I can't find it. But you know, when I was still in Spain, there was a three woman, and while we were outside an AA meeting, I wanted to kill her. With every fibre in my being, I wanted to kill her. We stepped into inside an AA room, and something different happened. You know, something else took her, because that sense I want to kill her went, because I realised that she had as much right to be in that room as I had. You know, I get back at the room and I wanted to tell her. And I'd keep praying about it, and it took me a long time to stop wanting to kill her when I seen her. But the steps and the traditions allow me the space to be like that. Not to be like an angry, but it gives me the time and the space to work through that problem, to ask God to help me get rid of the anger, get rid of the resentment, whatever it is I've got against this woman now, and I know it's me that's wrong in the wrong. It doesn't matter what she's done, I'm still in the wrong, because it's me, it's me that's left at night with this, you know. So I took it to the right place. I took it to God, and I kept taking it to God and kept taking it to God till it was resolved. And now I don't feel like killing her. I just want to half kill her. No, that's not true. But you know, I find the traditions and the steps, how they give us all so much that we, you know, if we take the time and read them, which I don't do a lot, then we should be better off. And I'm sorry that I've not got all this done right, but I do know that I treasure my anonymity, and it's the traditions that's allowed me to do that. And I'll thank you all for listening. And I'm sorry if it was off piece, but that's what you've got to do. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jackie. Wonderful readings on anonymity there, the spiritual foundation of all our traditions. Absolutely brilliant. Absolutely love that. And thank you so much for sharing your experience as well. And really great to see you back And congrats on 17 years of sobriety. What a wonderful milestone. How wonderful to celebrate with you. That's wonderful. So, almost getting towards the end, the checklist from the grapevine. Oops. So anonymity is the spiritual foundation of all our traditions, ever reminding us to place principles before personalities. Doesn't matter who I am or who you are or what you say or what you do or what you think or what I say or think or anything. It just doesn't matter. Our spiritual principles of anonymity and humility, prudence, honesty, service, kindness, patience, tolerance, love, they come first. That's what matters. Service. So the first question, there's 10 questions here for this one. Why is it a good idea for me to place the common welfare of all AA members before individual welfare? What would happen to me if AA as a whole disappeared? Okay, so that's pretty self-explanatory. Common welfare comes first. Yeah, I'm not important. The group is important. We are important. When I do, number 2, when I do not trust or agree with AA's current servants, who do I wish had the authority to straighten them out? Hopefully there's a good, strong group conscience there. 3, in my opinions of and remarks about other AAs, do I imply that membership requirements go beyond the desire to stay sober? That's a good question. The doors are open. Anyone can come if they have a desire to stop drinking. 4, have I a personal responsibility to help an AA group fulfill its primary purpose? What is my part? Absolutely. My part is to be a regular attendee at my home group. And I noticed as I was putting some chairs away and packing some banners away, a few other people were just standing around chatting, and I felt this little resentment, like, oh, how come you're just standing around talking, just doing nothing while I'm doing all the work? and it's like, no, shush, I had to say shush to my ego. This is my home group and I'm responsible, and I'm glad that I can be useful, and I'm glad that these people are here enjoying being at this meeting and fellowshipping after the meeting. How wonderful. So I love that AA keeps me in line if I let it. And 5, do I do all I can do to support AA financially? So yeah, I've got to keep an eye on that. Am I giving according to what I can, or am I being stingy? I'm just talking about myself personally. 6, should I keep my AA membership a secret or reveal it in private conversation when that may help another alcoholic and therefore me? Because I've got to give it away if I want to keep it. One of the first paradoxes of AA. Is my brand of AA attractive so that other drunks might want it? 7, what does anonymity mean to me? So we've had some readings and some discussion about that, and we can each, I think one of the readings said that we can meditate on these spiritual principles. And 8, in light of increased awareness of alcoholism and AA's program of recovery among the general public, why is the principle of anonymity still important? That's a good question. I'm guessing because there's still stigma and a world of misunderstanding about what alcoholism is. Open to any other answers in the sharing time. And I'm okay if we go over an hour, if everyone else is okay with that, seeing as it's the last week and it's gone a bit longer with recapping all of the traditions and so on. I'm more than happy to stay because it's a small group anyway, and it's the last week. 9, am I mindful to respect the anonymity of other AA members who may work in my place of employment or my industry? How about AA members who live in my area or neighbourhood? For me personally, I love to see other AA members out and about. I'll happily say hello to anyone. I know some people don't want to. They want to pretend they haven't seen you, or maybe they just don't like me. That's okay. But my answer for anyone is when someone says, oh, how do you know that person? Immediately I'll just say, we've met through mutual friends. And most people are just interested in themselves anyway. So you've answered their question, then they're moving on to something else anyway. They want to talk about themselves or whatever. So always just, we've met through mutual friends. It's not a lie, and it doesn't break anyone's anonymity. But if someone knows that I'm in AA, they know that that person's in AA, and I know that person's okay with it, I'll say, yep, I go to AA as well. That doesn't happen a lot. But I'm not that bothered. We do keep each other's anonymity, and people don't go around telling other people that I'm in AA. But for me personally, at this point, I'm not really bothered if people did. And tradition 10, what does principles before personalities mean to me? So we go right back to day one again. The just having a look. Okay, see if I can make that big. So we're looking at the circle triangle again. So the foundation or the base of the triangle is the 12 steps, how individual AA members recover. 12 steps form the foundation of our legacy of recovery. And remembering the definition of three legacies, recovery, unity, and service. And a legacy being a heritage, an inheritance, patrimony, gift, endowment, birthright. So what do I do with this wonderful gift, heritage, inheritance that's been given to me, this precious thing of my life and my sobriety? And then going around, of course, in the clockwise fashion, then we're on to the 12 traditions, how the AA groups recover, and those traditions that contain the essential ego-deflating elements that I require to stay sober and maintain sobriety. And so that's the unity, recovery, unity, and then service. How AA World Service recovers. The 12 concepts of world service form the foundation. The 12 concepts form the foundation of our legacy of service. So I would go from recovering from alcoholism, becoming useful in my group and carrying the message, united together with other members of my group, using those traditions, sticking to those traditions, and then going on to service in outside the group area, in an area, a district, central service office, world services, and so on, or other committees, national convention committees, or any other committees that might be out there. And there's just, that is tiny writing, excuse me, while I just go, where are we? By the first, we recover from alcoholism. By the second, we stay together in unity. And by the third, our society functions and serves its primary purpose of carrying the message to all who need it and want it. And that was a quote from Bill W. And that brings us to the sharing part, sharing comments, questions. If anyone wants to come in, I'd love to hear from you.
Hi. Great meeting. Great meeting. I can't believe it's been 12 weeks. I really like how you said, when people ask you, how do you know them? I have that come up all the time because people know that I'm very selective. And the friend that I just went to visit in Southern California, I have everybody asking me, well, how do you know her? They're like very interested. And I like your response. I met her, through a mutual friend. I've had that come up several times recently. I had a fabulous visit with her and got to attend her meetings and meet her support system and her groups and spend time on the beach and just really enjoyed it. But, you know, I do have that come up. And like you said, it just depends on who I'm with and what they know about my recovery to date. So I just wanted to share that. And I'm starting to do my research on the 12 concepts. So I'm going to put that in the WhatsApp chat. Thanks, everybody. Looking forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you, Deanna. Thanks so much for sharing, and wonderful to see you here. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Kerry, and I'd just like to come in and say thank you for all the information to you, and Jackie for sharing I didn't have my daily reflections with me, but I've written the pages down because I could only carry so many books, and I thought I could get that on my mobile, but I'm not used to using it. I like my books. So yes, it was good to hear those read out, about reminding me that I have to forgo my personal liberty for the greater good of the group, you know, and the ego deflation of the traditions. Prior to this group, these 12 sessions, I wasn't so aware of that. You know, I always thought it was through the steps that our ego was reduced. And now I've learned so much. It's been just amazing, really, from everyone's shares, everyone's contributions. When I take photographs, just for you to know, ladies, no one's in them. It's just the pamphlet, because I don't have those at the moment. But I intend getting them because, it's just been fabulous how I've seen so much use to that I can use the traditions. That's what I'm trying to say. Whereas before I thought I just had to learn about them, and now I see how important they are in my life and in for the greater good of AA as a whole, and how it's the unity, the group conscience, the importance of taking things slowly and being prudent, and all those words that, I never thought about them when I attended a group conscience. And it's been an eye-opener for me. It really has taught me so much. And I'd just like to thank everyone, and congratulations, Jackie and Nancy, on your birthdays. And good to have you back, Jackie. And God bless everyone. Have a lovely day or evening.
Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you. And absolutely, I found in my relationships, especially in my work life's the largest part of my life, probably anyway, is my career. But something happened the other day, someone did something and it annoyed me. And, I didn't want to get into any gossip or putting anyone down. A third party made a comment, a small comment, and said, that's all I'm going to say. And I thought, that's good. That's really good to be professional. We don't need to be putting anyone else down. And then I thought, well, yeah, what about unity? What's best for unity? Some people act like they don't have unity and don't want unity. They probably don't have a spiritual program in their life, but I have a spiritual program. So I need to remember, hey, actually, we're all in this together, whether you think so or not, or whether you want it or not, or whether you care or not. But I know and I care, and I need to look at my actions, words, thoughts. Are these conducive to unity in the workplace? And all the other traditions, when I look at them, they're so valuable in helping me. And this workshop has helped me. Now that I'm talking about it, of course, that's right, because I can still forget. I can still forget that my life and the life of those can be enhanced. Those around me can be enhanced if I practice these spiritual principles of the traditions. Hi, Nancy, and congratulations again to you too for that wonderful milestone.
Thanks, Tuija. Hi, ladies, and it's so great to be back. I can't believe I missed 6 weeks, but I did get to catch it at the last, and I'll be here for the concept study. So I'm actually going to start by addressing that question that you said maybe somebody will bring it up. So the question, in light of increased awareness of alcoholism and AA's program of recovery among the general public, why is the principle of anonymity still important? And so I was struck by something that Jackie said, and it's related directly to that question, that anonymity is what puts that gap between me and what's happened, right? I am not responsible for my sobriety. God is responsible for my sobriety. If I can't get to that place of humility, then I can't stay in that gratitude. I can't find unity. I can't find anything that I need. Anonymity is the spiritual foundation of our program because that's how we find a higher power. If we make it all about us, then we become the higher power, the individual higher power. I become the one that gets people sober rather than I'm delivering the message of this program and God is getting those people sober. That's what anonymity, that's why we can't, just because the program is more acceptable in the general public now, anonymity, that doesn't make the anonymity go away because it's not about embarrassing ourselves in the world. It is about our own humility so that we can find that higher power. That's kind of how it was taught to me. And I sort of heard Jackie say that at one point, and I think that it answers that question. And so the anonymity will always be essential no matter how well accepted Alcoholics Anonymous is, no matter how much various individuals or groups grab fame, that self-effacement, which I think somebody put in the chat, Deanna put in the chat, self-effacement, the quality of not claiming attention for oneself. That is the seeds of finding a higher power. That's why we can't let it go. That's how it was taught to me. That's all I got. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Nancy. That was so good to hear. Good stuff. Yeah. Anyone else have anything they'd like to share before we finish up?
I'm Wendy. I'm an alcoholic. I'll take a quick share if that's okay. It makes me think about responsibility and also ego deflation because, I'm going to get involved with trying to, be of service and fulfill like God's vision every day. And I love that part of every day that like, I never know what God's going to put in front of me, but I'm different now because now when I make a mistake, when I'm like trying to do service or I meet up with somebody who's a little bit like brusque or, kind of rubs me the wrong way, I think I'm differently like, well, God, that was good. I made a mistake. Look, I don't have to be all that, or that person, what is God trying to show me with that person? How to be humble, how to change my message, how to be flexible, and how to just be like what God would have me be and not what like the ego wants me to be. And it's the last thing I'll say is it's like a democratic society. I often hear people say I love this community of recovery, and that is more common than hearing people say this is like a recovery society, and it's so democratic. And no, there are no big shots. But I love the way you put that. If there's no power grabbers and attention seekers, and if they are, everyone smiles patiently and tolerantly because they're trying to be like God's vision and say, okay, that's bless them, change me. So I'll leave it with that, and I'm very happy for your providing this wonderful study opportunity and to have been able to come back in time to share it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Wendy. Great to hear you. And the ego, edging God out. If I'm in my ego, God's not there. And society, I think it talks about in our literature, it uses the word society rather than community, talks about a society of alcoholics in action. So I was just thinking, what's the difference between society and community? And I looked up society, and society is an organisation or club formed for a particular purpose or activity. I like society better than community somehow. I don't know. So I feel like I could talk on because I'm thinking about Ernie Kurtz. Now I'm going off on a tangent. I won't be there long. Ernie Kurtz, and he was an AA member, historian, PhD researcher and author. And he wrote about the history of Alcoholics Anonymous, and he talks about how to identify real AA. And he talks about the traditions. He lists 5 points, and one of those points is the real AA has the traditions present. They are, it's a group that runs according to the traditions. And again, I like hearing that. And the other points were about the language of spirituality rather than the language of therapy. The other one was the storytelling pattern, what we were like, what happened, what we are like now, and the use of paradox and humor as well. So are there any other comments, questions, shares? Okay, so we'll finish up there. If there was anyone who wanted to run the meeting for the next 3 weeks, if you wish to come and open up the room, I don't know if I'll be here or not. I don't think so. But otherwise, we'll all meet together here again on the 7th of September to do the 12 concepts. That's going to be a whole new ball game for me. I've never studied the concepts, so I'm just going to follow a template that someone else has already set out for us. How easy is that? So I'm really excited about learning something new. And all right, so if anyone would like to unmute and join in with the responsibility statement, let's just finish in the usual way. I am responsible. When anyone, anywhere, reaches out for help, I want the hand of AA always to be there. And for that, I am responsible. Thank you. Okay, I'm just going to stop the recording.